Good morning, colleagues. My name is Gift Joseph Mwiinga, a student of the Copper Belt University, pursuing a master's degree in finance. My research looks at the impact of the foreign debt investments on the economic growth. In this case, my study focuses on northwestern province of Zambia, which is now a mining hub of Zambia. The background to my study is to understand how these foreign debt investments impact the community where these FDIs are hosted. The study looked at the towns around Northwestern, to be specific, Solwezi, which is the host of the Kansanshi mine, Kalumbila town, which is the host of the Kalumbila mine as well as Lumwana mine. Other towns that we focused on during this study were Mwiinga, which hosts the Kansensele gold mine, Kasempa, that has seen a new discoveries as well in gold as well. Other towns were Mufumbwe, which had a mine that was recently opened, and of course Mwiinga. Those are the towns that our study was focused on. The methodology used in this study was a mixed approach, both qualitative and quantitative, and the sample size of 96 respondents were conducted, as well as we also went on further to conduct interviews with different institutions, mines on the Copper Belt, mines here on the Northwestern, institutions like Zambia Revenue Authority, institutions like the Zambia Development Agency, which of course keeps track and the record of these foreign direct investments for a long period of time. Our findings during this study was Zambia actually accounts for its revenue. About 48% of its taxes comes from these FDIs. This is actually cited in the 2022 Zambia tax report. Further, during our study, it also discovered that the tax system in Zambia, it is centralized. Most of the taxes that are collected around the country, more especially where these big mines are hosted, the revenue that comes from these FDIs is sent to the capital city of the country, which is Zambia. Yeah. We also discovered that the effectiveness of CSR around these communities is somehow compromised. Not only is it uncompromised, but even the investment, the infrastructure investments around these FDIs is compromised. The portion that goes back to these communities is marginalized. Those were some of the findings that we found out. But further, we went on to do a comparative with other countries, what other countries are doing around these FDIs and how they empower the communities where these FDIs are situated. We conducted a research around Botswana, which of course is also rich in minerals as well, South Africa, Brazil. These are some of the countries that we carried out. We try to find out how they conduct their FDIs around the communities. In our discussions or engagements, we reached out to Kansanshi Mine. Kansanshi Mine has a wing that runs its CSR through the Kansashi Foundation. The Kansashi Foundation, headed by Mr. Simon Donald Kivo, gave us quite a lot of insight to what the mine is doing around the community. They do quite a number of projects, including farming, including all sorts of sports for the community, and all other things for the community to empower the community. But not only that, it was also discovered that actually the Kansashi mine, which is a subsidiary of First Quantum Minerals, First Quantum Minerals as a whole were the largest taxpayer in Zambia. But that tax, as earlier on said, is sent to Lusaka. That's why it's accounted for. Further on, we went on to engage to do engagements with the community in our discussions. We interviewed representatives from the Mwiinga Kingdom which hosts the Lumwana mine, as well as the Kapijimpanga Kingdom, that's a community that we engaged, to find out how they feel these FDIs have impacted the community and what lasting impact are they leaving in the community. A lot of outcomes were discovered, and to some extent, these chiefs who had even a meeting at some point earlier this year, they were proposing that if 5% of the revenue that is generated is sent back to the community to be invested in the community, which is not the case currently. We also went on further to inquire from institutions like the Zambia Revenue Authority here in Solwezi, as well as the Solwezi City Council, Town Council, on how they feel these FDIs have impacted the community so far. A lot came out from those engagements. Going to my acknowledgements, I just want to acknowledge the people who, of course, helped in this study. Mr. Donald Kivo from Kansashi Mine, Mr. Kalika Sunkaf, the finance superintendent at Kansashi Mine, Mr. Nyambe, who is the legal officer at the Kalumbila Town Council, Mr. Frankson Momba, who's the procurement head at Solwezi Council, Elizabeth Chabi, who helped me in editing this research, and Brady Mbazima, who also helped in this research, and the many others. I would want to say thank you for their input to this research. Conclusions and recommendations to this research. I would recommend that there's a blend, the government adopts a blend between sharing the revenue that comes from these FDIs across the whole nation, but also sending back a certain portion of that realized revenue back to those communities, like it is the case for Botswana. It's mandatory that whatever that is realized in those communities, a portion of that is sent back to the community before even it can be shared at national level. That's one recommendation. The other recommendation is, of course, there's need to build transparency around these FDIs. Currently, in the Zambian system, there's not transparency around these FDIs. There's so much that the people and the community that don't know about these FDIs. Even accessing this information, it was quite difficult. That's what the government needs to bridge. It needs to bridge that gap. I thank you all for listening to this summary of my research. Thank you.